In this video, I'm going to break down the deadlift, a technical full body exercise, what I would argue is one of the greatest exercises that you can do to target your entire body. There's a lot of setup points to make this a safe exercise, so you need to set up properly. I'm going to give you all the points that you need in this single video. So what we want is, first, the bar itself. What we need is plates about this big. So if obviously you're just starting out and you can't lift 60 kilograms, then try and find yourself some bumper plates. So what they are, or maybe some training plates, they probably weigh 5 kilos, if that, and you can put them either side of the barbell. That's important because we need it a certain height off the ground. So you can't do this with like a small 5 kilogram plate because you're going to be far too close to the floor. So make sure you use some training plates or bumper plates to begin with. So, setup-wise, one thing I'm going to tell you first is the sooner you think about this exercise as a leg press with the weight in your hands as opposed to lifting a heavy weight off the ground, it's going to change the exercise completely. So once you have all the tension points in place, we're just going to drive from the legs and we're going to lock out the top of the lift. So if you change your mindset on this, it will seem a little bit easier. Firstly, I'm stepping up to the bar, and when I look straight down, I want the bar to be chopping my foot in half. Okay, so I'm just going to set this up. It's a little bit crooked. So bar is chopping my foot in half when I'm looking straight down. Your width of stance is going to be personal to you. So for the conventional, we typically go feet a little bit closer and the hands come on the outside. Sumo is the opposite, where we go feet wide, hands on the inside. This is the conventional. So if you're trying to figure out what stance is best for you, if you were to repeatedly jump up and down and try and get as much height as you can in your jump, then you're going to land in pretty much what would be your strongest position for you to generate the most force. So if you can emulate that when you're doing the deadlift, that's going to be just what your body knows is naturally going to be the strongest position. Bar over midfoot, I'm going to sink down. And this is where we start to set up our, as I like to call them, tension points. So I'm taking a firm grip on the bar with my hands outside of my knees. So the first tension point, we're going to start from the ground up. So I want to feel the weight on my heels at the very beginning of the lift. If you come onto the toes, then you're going to be falling forward because the weight is out in front of you. So you always want to be sitting back onto the heels. The weight is going to counterbalance as it sits in front of the body. Taking a firm grip on the bar, outside of the knees. The next tension point we want is at the hips. So what I'm going to do is gently drive my knees out against locked elbows. What that's going to do is going to turn on these muscles of the hips. So I'm going to get my glutes activated when I'm driving my knees out slightly. Okay? So it's an important point because that's going to get a huge driver out of the bottom of that squat activated from the start. Grabbing outside of the knees. Knees pushed very slightly out. I'm going to keep my arms locked throughout. That's very, very important. Sometimes people like to do what we call a staggered grip, so they have one hand underneath. The biggest cause of bicep tears is when people bend their arm and then pull from the ground. So keep your arms locked throughout. To avoid bicep tears, just go with a double overhand grip. Tension at the feet, tension at the hips. Now I'm going to sink down. Now what I want is tension in my upper body. So I'm going to get the shoulder blades pressed down, arms nice and long. I'm thinking shoulder blades pushed down, not together and down. So that's a common mistake. If you see here, I'm keeping my shoulder blades pushed down. If I pull them together and down, you can see now I can't even grip the bar. So I'm going to only have to go down further and pull that bar through a greater bar path, making the lift more difficult for myself by going through a greater range of motion. Shoulder blades pressed down, arms long. I'm going to now think about breaking the barbell to get my lats engaged. So the lats, huge sling of muscle from the upper arm connecting down to the lower back. When that's activated, you're going to keep everything a lot tighter around your core. The last point is your core bracing. So that's on a separate video. Make sure you know how to core brace properly when you use it for a squat. Also for the deadlift, the same will apply here. That's all of your tension points pretty much. So once you piece that together, weight on the heels, knees pushed out slightly against locked elbows, shoulder blades pressed down towards the back pockets, breaking the barbell to get the lats engaged, brace the core, stand and push the floor away. Once again, shoulder blades pressed down, breaking the barbell, stand and push, break from the hips, sink down. Notice how I'm keeping my chin slightly tucked as well. I'm not staring at myself in the mirror. That's just going to put my neck into a lot of extension, and I'm going to be cranking at the neck. Try all those points out. Practice makes perfect with this exercise. You really, really need to nail down your technique. Video yourself, practice it, master it. One of the best exercises you can do. Hope that helps.